Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm testing sound and setting up. I know I probably won't get anybody to tune in. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure that this is hooked up. I hope I don't disconnect to try to do this. Okay. It says I'm connected. Once somebody comes in, maybe you guys can let me know if you can hear me. If the microphone's working on this. Glasses. I need glasses. I apologize for having to do this at such... sorry. Okay. Let's see. Let me check my... Okay. I apologize for having to do this at such a late hour. I hope that somebody shows up to let me know if you can hear me or not. I'm having to use my phone as a hotspot, plus use the data on it at the same time. And let's see. If there's anybody in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me. I'm trying to use these headphones because of what I have set up and planned to do. If anybody can hear me, just let me know. Okay, let's see. Just to make sure, I'm going to cut the Bluetooth. I know you should be able to hear now. Let's see. Make sure I got the volume up. Let me make sure I put Do Not Disturb on. And then I'll explain why I'm having to do this so late at night. Which really sucks. Okay. I've got Do Not Disturb on, which should make it better. Okay. Hey, Bam! Let me turn the headphones back on and see if you can still hear me with these on, because some people saying they're having problems hearing me. When I look up and down at my papers. It says I'm connecting. Let's see. Let's try again. It said couldn't connect. There we go. Okay. Done. Okay, let me know. Can you hear me now, Miss Bam Bam? And welcome. Just let me know if you can still hear me or if now I'm muted. If you would. I'm just going to wait until I get a response from you, and then I'm going to continue on and let everybody kind of know what's going on. Sorry if I'm going to be sniffing. I've kind of been crying all day. Woosah. Just tell me yes or no in the chat if you can, please. Yay! Okay, good. Okay, so, okay. So until I start reading my papers, I'm going to take the glasses off, because with the headphones, it's a lot. Hopefully you caught the video that I did yesterday with Little Man. That was our last weekend before I have to move, so it's been real emotional. I'm using my phone as a hotspot, and also the data to go live. I've tried 2 or 3 other ways, and it's not seeming to work. And I want to be able to show you guys documents and paperwork. So, I'm going live on the phone, and I have my laptop set up. And I can touch a button, and it turns my camera around, and I can show you what's on the laptop. So I can actually show you the documents. And certain stuff I was talking about with most of the people originally with my channel. started out as DV and SA survivors. So I figured that, like myself, a lot of them would find it very troubling. Some of the things that are going on. Yes, I am live. Some of the things that are going on in the JZ case with the private investigators. Um, and I have pictures and documentation and uh, court filings to go over. But the thing that I found really troubling is the lady filed this paperwork on the 20th. And I've got, let me get my papers so I can read and not tell y'all wrong. I may have turned the light up. What I do want to say real quick, because a lot of people that watch on repeat don't watch too far in. I have until the 22nd to figure this out. And I have now, as of this morning, had the third person who was supposed to take Pepper cancel. Pepper's the dog. She's in there in the other room. I kind of made it her personal room while I'm doing this kind of stuff, so she don't knock the phone off and everything, because I've tried that and it made a hot mess yesterday. But anyway, so I called today. This is something I found really troubling. I called today to the Friends for Animals and to the pound that's sponsored apparently by the ASPCA, whatever. And they have a surplus of pets, dogs and cats specifically. They're actually waiving the adoption fee. It's been in the newspaper, digitally, online, whatever. Long story short, they're not taking any what they call owner surrenders. So I have two options. I can stay in a tent because I can't take her with me to the only place I have to stay, or pay $5 and they'll put her down. I think that's pretty crappy for some place that's supposed to be for the benefit of animals. If there's anybody out there that sees this that could take Pepper in, either temporarily for less than 30 days or permanently, that's a good home. All of her stuff goes with her. All her food, her reusable pads, her food bowls, her water bowls, her crate for her training collar, her leash, her outdoor runner. Everything goes with her. No charge. I'm not asking for money for it. I just want her happy and safe. As I understand, I found a thrift store to come and get whatever I can't take with me item-wise to give as a donation. I'm pretty much giving up everything I own now. The electric will be cut off the 22nd, and the second person that told me that I could use their basement to store stuff is no longer answering text or calls. So if I can't fit it in about 2 trips with a car and 1 with a small pickup truck, I'm not going to be able to keep it. I kind of feel selfish and being upset because so many around me have already lost so much. But I'll be real with you guys. I mean, I lost my mom, I lost my son, I lost my kid's father, I lost my stepdad, I lost my other dog, and I'm giving up everything that took 30 years pretty much to accumulate. And I'm just wondering, when is it going to be enough? When when do I just quit losing, you know? Anyway, positive side, the house is sold. Closing day is scheduled to be the 3rd of April, but since the water's already off, the internet's already off, and the lights will be off soon, the buyer has agreed as soon as I can get everything out that we'll go ahead and close. And as I understand, they're going to directly pay the rest of the mortgage company, and then minus the outstanding new power bill and the the 1 month Duke Power, 1 month Brentwood Water, that kind of thing. That, of course, would be, minus the deposits. I'll have to pay that. And I have to pay to get Lacey's car out of Mom's name. And then I'll be able to give me a home and a car. And as soon as I get everything moved, which, believe it or not, packing up all this and going through it and sorting it, figuring it out is more than a full-time job. And it really is emotionally more than I expected. But the good news is there shouldn't be a wait because it is a cash sale. So I've just literally got to get Pepper situated and my things moved, and I'm good there. Now, so anybody that has any questions, anybody that really, truly has an idea for the dog, please reach out and just let people know. I did reach out to a long-time subscriber that runs an animal rescue and ask about resources, and that question was ignored and other things were talked about. So I kind of just left it alone. I don't know what to do. That's the thing that bothers me the most. It was hard to tell a little man that that was the last time he's going to spend the night with me here. He was upset. He told me how Honey used to read to him in the recliner in the living room and stuff. And I really can't talk no more about that because I don't want to cry. I really don't want to cry anymore on it. Anyway, I'm going to lean over here and I'm going to blow my nose because I don't want to do it on camera. So I'm going to mute too. Okay. Let's see. Let me get these things back on my head without squishing my glasses and them not falling. Oh, I just hit a button again. Okay, anyway. Alright, so I have some notes and then I have some pictures pulled up that I want to show you guys that I have ready on the laptop to show you. I have to, this is the best way I found out to do it, because I tried to use the laptop and include the screenshots and stuff. It won't let me use a restream with running it the way I am right now. And this is temporary. Once I get moved to my friend's apartment into her spare room for 30 days, I will be able to, hey Brenda, I will be able to go back to Restream or StreamYard and using one of those. This just won't, I guess, support that at this time. So I have notes on my legal pad. I also have the rest of my DIY hacks and tips to go over and stuff. But right now, I want to talk about the Jay-Z and the PIs. I have obtained the transcript, the full transcript, not just snippets. And those of you that are survivors, I think will understand in a way maybe other people aren't. What you and I might get and understand that other people aren't getting. The intimidation and the fear. The fact that there was 1 to 2 word answers to most of the questions. And at the beginning, the first thing she said is, "How did you find me? How do you know who I am?" And at the end, when she told him to have a good day back to back, was when she found out they were there. And I can't remember this exact wording, but the way the guy said it was, "We're here kind of, sort of, on Jay-Z's behalf-ish." But he didn't hire him. And his attorneys didn't hire him. And we're going to get into that too. I think Jay-Z should have left the ish alone, if you want to know. The case was dropped, and I think you should have left it alone, homie. Because you or whoever sent these people after this girl, somebody somewhere has got some splaining to do. How do you know who Jay-Z's attorneys, Jay-Z's friends, representative, Rock Nation, whoever it was that hired these PIs, and there's 3 altogether. There's the man and the woman that actually went to Jane Doe's residence and questioned her. And then there's a third one that works for high-profile corporations and clients. I've got the names, I got the info, and I got the pictures, and I got the filings. My question is, bruh, how did this lady file on the 20th? And on the 20th, you gave the third PI her name and who she was for him to research her medical records, her service in the military. How, if this is some wackadoodle woman that made, because I thought she was a wackadoodle. I still am not sure she's telling the truth. Let me say that. But if that's not even relevant to what I'm talking about. What happened and what these PIs did is why victims keep their mouths shut and sit in the dark and end up with PTSD because they don't get out of the situation because they're scared. Or why you end up finding out later that something happened to them. And if you don't understand that, maybe at the end of this broadcast, you will understand that. I would have personally, if I was her, been very afraid. She's suing as Jane Doe. In the original court filings, they said that they were petitioning for her name to be released, just like Diddy. That was denied. So how do any of the named participants know who she was to be able to send a PI to her if her name is Jane Doe? If nothing happened, nothing occurred between y'all, and you can't say, oh, it was after the court case was settled. Nope. Nope. In the affidavit, sworn affidavit, that the third PI, second male, filed with the court on the day, he said on the 20th, on the same day that Jane Doe filed, he was given her name to investigate her. How, bruh? How? How did Diddy, how did Jay-Z, how did Celebrity B, the female, and anybody else named in that suit know this person's name to have them investigated if it was all a lie? If y'all don't know her and it never happened? That's my biggest question. Screw the rest if you really, right now, the damage that is being done to future DV and SA victims of Joe Blow and I'm not talking about celebrities. But if the court can't protect the victim, why is the victim going to go to court? Why are they going to, criminally or civilly, why are they going to try to have their day in court? Why are they going to try to get free? Why are they going to try to get justice? All these years later, she's moved on with her life, and now she got people that she don't know showing up asking her questions. And by the way, the only person they asked her questions about was Jay-Z. They didn't ask her questions about what Diddy did or didn't do. And when we get into this that I'm about to read y'all and show you, this most recent filing by Miss Charlotte, the female PI, with the way that y'all were saying things, I want you guys' opinion. Does it sound like that's because she's leading, and I don't want to misstate and misquote because I can't afford a lawsuit, but let me say this. In the intimations that she's making, she says, we're not saying nothing didn't happen to you. And I'm paraphrasing. This is not verbatim. This is not a direct quote. And tonight's broadcast is solely my opinion, based on legal documents that are public record on file with the courts. Is the ability to comment still working, you guys? Because it seems to have hung up after the real Brenda. I can't see. Probably should put my glasses back on, huh? Anyway, my question is, and I said this in the live stream that I did yesterday really quick, when Little Man and I were out in the road kind of having fun and his friends showed up. How can we trust that we're being protected? And this, thank you, Bam, thank you. Matter of fact, I need one more anyway. Okay. All right, Bam Bam. Next time you type, you're going to see that you got a range. Anyway, my question is, and this is coming from someone that was a DVSA survivor, that went through the United States Attorney General Address Protection Program. What's up, Aqua? How can we ensure that the court system is actually protecting us? That they're actually helping us? That they're actually there for us? And that we're going to be safe? Or are we going to be going through and use, again, just in a different format. You know, I've spent the last almost 8 years of my life trying to rebuild. I even showed my paperwork when I started my life. From getting out of a severe DVSA situation. I had guns to my head. People that don't believe me, you want to see the pictures? I'll show you the pictures. See, 9 days later, the imprint of the barrel of the 38 above my eyebrow right there where I just pointed. You know what's really interesting? I waited on a table. That same day I took that picture of 7 state troopers in uniform. Not one of them asked me why I had the imprint of a gun barrel over my forehead and my eyebrow. Not one. Not one said, "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" I still am amazed by that. But anyway, let's go back to this court case. I just am saying that to you guys because I wanted everybody to understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a survivor that's been there. And I didn't feel protected then. I went to a women's shelter for battered women. I completed their program. I had police protection to go to work and come back to the shelter. About every 30 minutes, they rode through my parking lot of my job while I was there. Why? Because they called him in the parking lot. He sat in that parking lot for 17 hours on a Saturday trying to catch me. Because normally as a waitress, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's your days. I got a call and they told me he was there and I didn't come. I didn't get in trouble with my job. My bosses who called me and said it wasn't safe. They called the police because they had a copy of my restraining order. They didn't do anything to him because I wasn't there. Oh gosh, I can't see. Hold on. Random consumer. I'm not sure, random consumer, what you're talking about, but the court case we're speaking about is the Jay-Z court case, and the fact that Jane Doe's identity wasn't protected. And I'm going to show you guys through the transcripts and the statements that were made by the 3 private investigators that on the very day that Jane Doe filed her case, whether we believe it to be true or not, isn't relevant to what I'm talking about. I think in my personal opinion, I think both attorneys didn't act above board at all. Period. I think both of them have a little bit of shady behavior. I'm not sure 100% that what the claimant said is true. What I am sure of is that her identity wasn't protected and she wasn't kept safe. So when she's saying she felt intimidated and scared and feared for herself, I think there's a case for that. I think there's a case for that. Why during the transcripts that were released and submitted to the court today, the full transcripts of the recordings with the 2 PIs that were at her house, why not once, but at least twice, maybe 3 times, but I know twice, did they feel the need to have to reassure Jane Doe that they weren't there to do her any harm or to physically hurt her? Why would you need to do that? Why would that be necessary? Okay, so let me just look at my notes real quick, and then I'm going to pull some stuff up to show you guys, documents, and go over the full transcripts. First of all, James Butler and Charlotte Henderson are PIs 1 and 2. Remember also, y'all remember when the TikTokers were coming around asking questions about the store? TikTokers were getting PIs that were coming around asking questions about the coverage they were doing on the original. It was on Diddy mainly, everybody thought, but it was right around the time that this case was filed. I think it was October 20th. I got it wrote down. Let's see, hold on. PI 3. 10/20/24 was when the case was filed. Now, if y'all will think back, there were several TikTokers. One was the comedian guy, the other was the girl that had moved, and my neighbors as well. But it wasn't identified. The guy in the video with the comedian guy that said, "What are y'all doing outside of my house?" And they're like, "Are you being paid to report content in a certain way?" The one gentleman, and I've got pictures and a video to back up what I'm talking about right here, had a ball cap on with the thin blue line patch. Interestingly enough, he said his name was Robert James. James Robert Butler. Robert James, James Robert. And when they asked him if he was there representing Diddy, the response, the one guy didn't want to talk and wanted to walk off. The one with the ball cap and the thin blue line was like, "Oh, something like that." Just remember that when we get to that point. That's all I'm asking. Okay. This is a roll-up, y'all. I think I did okay. It is nicotine cigarettes. It ain't no illegal stuff. It's just, they're hard to smoke. You take the filter, like of a previously smoked cigarette, and you take the tobacco out, and you re-roll it. That's what I've been doing. Hey, I'm trying to quit. It makes them nasty, and it's hopefully going to be helpful. Okay. So, also, I find it very interesting and questionable as to why that we have basically statements from Charlotte Henderson and from the third private investigator, Ian Pillager, submitted in court documents, but this James Robert Butler, other than what was contained on the audio recording that was recorded without Jane Doe's knowledge, but it's in Alabama, it's a one-party state. Those of you that have been with me know what that means. They don't got to tell him Nathan. It's the only time he's referenced. He does not make a statement. And also, just FYI, and I might have this here, let's see. Because to me, it was very important. Let's see. Okay, the first male PI's full name is James Robert Butler. One person with that same name, hold on to y'all's britches, is none other than a former detective. And remember, okay, this is James Robert Butler. Sorry, I had it backwards. James Robert Butler is the PI. Now, when they were visiting the TikTokers, he said his name was Robert James and that he used to be a detective, the one with the ball cap and the thin blue line. Just talking about coincidences and opinions. I have no facts. I don't have pictures of the detective to match to this guy. God knows, I wish I did. But anyway, the male PI's full name is James Robert Butler. The guy that visited TikTokers said his name was Robert James. There is a former detective out of New York's Manhattan district. I guess that's how you say it. Could be the same person, may just be a coincidence. But he's now in the Richmond Bureau. And I wrote in my notes, remember TikTokers and YouTubers getting visits from PI. One of them had a thin blue line cap, and they seemed to have New York accents. Let's see. And then Busby made a post with the picture, and I have a screenshot to show y'all, of PI's team. I'm guessing that's who he meant. In the post, it says something about that PIs were contacting current and former clients. And let's see. And then I wrote, one of the PIs talking to influencers and YouTubers name was Robert James. And then we've got the PI James Roberts. It's awful coincidental, and can't be that many Oh, and did I mention that Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney's office, is based out of New York, the Manhattan area, New York? I'm just saying. Just saying. It's awful coincidental to me. But anyway, okay, so Charlotte Henderson, the female PI that was on scene at Jane Doe's residence, asserted in her affidavit that she was not hired by Jay-Z, but they would not say who hired them. And allegedly, according to what Spiro said, I believe it was on Good Morning America or one of the morning shows, he did an interview, Jay-Z's attorney said that it wasn't Jay-Z or him that hired. It was, basically, it's like saying it ain't him or, Jay-Z, it's a friend that hired it. So who hired him? Did he hire him? No, because he was only asking questions about Jay-Z. If they'd have been asking questions about everybody involved in the suit, and Busby and her, okay, maybe it was. But they only asked questions concerning Jay-Z. Could it have been wifey? I don't know. But let me ask y'all this. Do y'all know of any high-powered private investigators that'll just work for free without even anybody contacting them and asking them? Let me know in the comment section about that right there. Please let me know. Because if y'all know one, I got some stuff that needs investigating. We got some Summer Wells stuff. We got some other stuff we can look into, don't we, y'all? Sorry. I just think it's gross to wipe my nose on camera. Okay. Let's see. Let me see what else I got right down here. She also said that Jane Doe said Jay-Z didn't SA her, and that Busby encouraged her to name Jay-Z. I have also documents that can refute that. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care for Busby. He seems like a little, Better Call Saul, okay? On my opinion. That being said, it was another law firm that Jane Doe originally was, sent through. And according to the paperwork that has been released and attached to Busby's answer, that law firm, and I do have pictures of those to show y'all too. I'm pulling all that up. I apologize for being slow. Y'all know I'm old. According to that and the information, they take like a client information sheet, and the client fills it out, and then the referral goes to the other attorney along with that sheet and the client. According to that referral sheet, she named Jay-Z from moment one. Actually, his name, as I recall, and I may be incorrect, but I swear it was like Sean Carter, Jay-Z, and Sean Combs. Maybe it's because of ABC order, I don't know. But I'm just saying, from moment one, she named him. Now, maybe he encouraged her to put Jay-Z's name out there along with Diddy's. But it doesn't seem that he encouraged her to add Jay-Z. Because prior to him, now, I don't believe that either attorney did their due diligence in this case. But by crackies, they're not as bad as old kid. I've done my, and if y'all don't know, let me tell y'all. The reason also I want to bring this up is we got the PIs. Now, y'all stay with me for a second. The PIs is visiting the TikTokers and the YouTubers, right? What else was going on in YouTube land and social media land and news at that same time? Kind of parallel to this case. The one YouTuber that we ain't heard from since English and Lynette girl or whatever her name was and Mr. Burgess got proved to be not telling the honest truth. So let me get this right. We have the attorney kid that don't got a good rep in Florida where she's from. Y'all can look that up on Google and maybe I can show it to you. We got her showing up with the Mr. LB, we'll call him, YouTuber that has kind of a sketchy past and ended up getting a whole bunch of stuff at the time that he promoted Miss English and her friends. And what every time that we saw Adria English and that other girl before Miss English went to rehab, every time we saw her and that other chick that I forget's name that's not important because she's claiming to be the white girl from Canada, that I told y'all that ain't her because that's a white girl with blonde hair and that ain't her. She talking about fat shaming. No, I'm fat. I'm fat. I wasn't fat shaming you. That you cannot change. You cannot have. That girl that was saying it, she was the one on the table with the stuff on her, and the one that was in the studio sitting on Diddy's lap. You can't go from being a blonde-headed white girl to being another ethnicity. We can do a whole lot, but I don't think we can do that yet. I'm just saying. Had nothing to do with weight. But anyway, all that was going on at the same time that these PIs were going on, at the same time that this case was being filed and starting the litigation. And here's my question for y'all. Without us talking about this, without us going over these PI statements, by the way, the PIs visited her after the case was dropped with prejudice, like 6 days after. The case was dropped on the 21st, I think. Maybe even the 14th. But they visited her, I think, on the 27th. And I've got those dates right down and we're going over it. But my point is, it was at least a week after the case was dropped with prejudice that they came asking her about Jay-Z's involvement. And let me ask y'all something. We always saying if you see something, say something, right? So in the transcripts, they're talking, and they say Jay-Z was just there. We're not saying nothing didn't happen to you, but it wasn't Jay-Z that did it, right? He was just there. So now he's a witness? Just saying. Oh, FYI, news flash, news break that just came across the wire, verified, prior to me hitting the go live button. Let me insert this for those of you that are here, because a lot of people won't watch to this point. Just came out. If y'all been following the Diddy, and this is in the Diddy case sphere, but it's more criminal and involves Tupac and Keefe D. So everybody knows the Keefe D assertion on the for hire and the $1 million check, but there was no cooperation until now. Kirk Burroughs, former co-founder of Bad Boy, alleged ex-partner in more ways than one of the Diddler, is now made a statement officially That's the way it was worded on the wire, and I'm talking about the AP Newswire. Officially, which would need, in my opinion, the way it was worded, would mean to authoritize either prosecution in this case, uh, an attorney that's filing an affidavit and made a filing in court, or a police statement. Not sure which, it didn't specify. But he is basically co-signing Keefy D's allegations of the unaliving of Tupac for hire with the $1 million check. That's a big deal as far as superseding indictments go for Diddy. And there was something else that had to do with that. Oh, the CNN tape. Let me clarify that before we get into the depths of this. So, from TMZ and then some other sources that I reached out to and contacted, here's the lowdown. Nobody knows for sure other than CNN and the Southern District of New York's District Attorney's Office. Sorry, you guys, I'm being all fidgety, but my hair is driving me back crazy between my glasses and the headphones, and I'm a little cold. Anyway, woosah. So, here's the deal. CNN bought a copy. Listen to what I'm telling you. CNN, when they aired the videotape of Diddy and Cassie in the hotel motel hallway, they got it because someone reached out to them and said, hey, I've got this, I want to sell it to you. They did not sell the original data file. They sold a copy to CNN. CNN maintains that they didn't chop the copy, allegedly, kind of. Their wording's a little kinky, but it's irrelevant. Now, if you guys will think back, remember the feds and Homeland Security raiding Diddy? Rumor was then that they found that tape and that they leaked it. That's what Diddy's team is trying to say. Well, the only way that Diddy's team would be able to know that the feds and Homeland Security leaked the tape is if Diddy had the tape in the residence they raided. Hello. Y'all be dumb sometimes and stop self-snitching like CLR, Bruce Rivers says. Bruh, don't tell on yourself. Sometimes you defending yourself by telling on yourself. But allegedly, the party line right now, and I've been wondering if this ain't a psyop to occupy us while other issues going on. But anyway, the party line right now is that they think it was a security guard that while the incident was occurring live, or they was all watching it together, took out his cell phone and recorded. Now, back then it would have been a potato phone and the recording would be nowhere near the quality that we're looking at. That's my personal opinion. But I digress. That's Harvey Levin and TMZ's thoughts. My thoughts is somebody took out a flash drive and downloaded a copy to it, okay? Or downloaded the original file to it. Either way, CNN didn't get the original file. They got a copy of the original file. Look at their statements to the news. They may have sped it up, edited out some long, spaces of nothing happening, whatever. And that's what Diddy's team is trying to say to get the tape thrown out. Long story short, the feds, the prosecution, they answered back, and here's what they said. Pump your brakes, Diddy's team. Pump your brakes, sit down, have many seats, and know your role. We don't only have CNN's ish. We got CNN's source and everything they got. Whether CNN gave the source up to the feds or the source directly contacted the feds got the original. So you're not getting the tape thrown out. And it ain't even, and Harvey Levin is right about one thing. It's not necessarily, because they can't prosecute it, whoever held it kept their end of the bargain, and the 50 G's that they was paid, Puffy got his money worth, because he can't be prosecuted on the state level for the assault, doing the best I can, the assault, I like pink salt, the poo-poo and the dry, he can't be prosecuted for that. But that tape shows that Cassie was trying to get on the elevator and get away, and that she was physically restrained and prevented from leaving. Then when she gets on the stand and says that one of them freak-offs was occurring, oh, he's through. He's through. And then with Keefy D, but he's recanted, so I don't know. And then Kirk Burroughs coming out and substantiating that claim that at the very minute, and understand, you don't have to carry out the unaliving for hire. You just have to do stuff and take steps to look serious. I don't know what would do that. Like contacting somebody and more than one person and saying, do you want it to happen? Like writing out a check, even if you void it or it never got cashed. Bruh, to be so smart, you so dumb. And let me say something else. This is something everybody missing. While y'all talking about the Diddy thing, it's something that I've been wanting to say a long time. Does everybody forget who his daddy's best friends were? Y'all ever see the movie American Gangster with Denzel? Diddy's daddy, Melvin, allegedly, is no longer here because Mr. American Gangster, the very person that Denzel portrayed in that movie, was Diddy's daddy's best friend, Frank Lucas, who I personally, and you can look him up on YouTube and pull him up, there's multiple interviews where he talks about Diddy as an infant, as a toddler, playing next to the dining room table and the floor while Frank Lucas and Diddy's daddy and Frank Lucas's right-hand man was sitting there chopping it up, cutting up their wares to sell or whatever, planning their next move. You wonder why he moves like he moves? Think about it. Why? What do the mafia, the people, how do they operate? From what we've seen through the Gotti trial, through everything that we've seen in the past, how do they operate? How do they keep their people going? They give them just enough to where they got to keep coming back and stay under their control. They operate through fear and intimidation. And it's all about control. So maybe certain proclivities originally started out not as something that made him, get his rocks off, but as a way of intimidation and control. And then he liked it too much. I'm just saying, my thoughts, my personal opinions, just asking, what do y'all think? Okay, so, got that. It says Jane Doe is now saying that she was intimidated into dropping the lawsuit as she was told by Busby that Jay-Z was trying to unalive her. I'm not worried about repercussions. Don't y'all worry about it. Don't say that. It's directly said and stated in the affidavits filed. So, and we're going to go over that. Just for those that don't want to stay for the in-depth, I'm hitting the highlights and the points for you. And the unalive her, and the PIs showed up. They knew who she was, even though her identity was supposed to be protected. And they would not tell her how they found her. They basically said, in the extended conversation when she asked repeatedly, well, court filings and statements made here and there, it was pieced together. Unless she's some kind of superstar, how you gonna piece it together? That some lady living in Alabama, that part got put out in the filings. Because when they told us that Alabama is a one-party state and they only needed one person's permission to record Jane Doe when they visited her house, well, who else are they talking about that lived in Alabama? Cheetos? Chester Cheetah? Duh, y'all telling it all. They told us she's ex-military, they told us she's got mental problems, and they told us she lives in Alabama. Yeah. And wait till y'all hear the direct comments. There's certain stuff I want to read directly from the transcripts that, in my personal opinion, is an implied threat. You know, when you say something about, we want you to remain a Jane Doe, we wouldn't want nothing to happen to you and your pretty dog and your kids and your grandkids. How the hell would y'all take that? And then, I'm sorry, but what they played on Good Morning America was chopped up and edited. And I'm not taking up for the lady again. I'm not saying that her elevator goes to the top floor, or that she's got a full six-pack, or that her 52 card deck's not missing a joker or a deuce or something. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that statements that were made and the way that this played out and is handled, and the fact that her identity was not protected from day one, is very suspect and scary. And where it seemed like there was no validity to her claims, now I'm second guessing it and wondering, how did you know on the very day that she filed your lawsuit who she was, if you never met her and never did nothing? How? I need those PIs that are clairvoyant and psychic. I need whoever gave y'all that name. What's up, Miss Justice? Love you, baby. Welcome. I'm just saying, common sense has to prevail at some time. Okay. So, let's see. The next thing in my notes, it says, Jane Doe alleges there was a backdoor agreement that they all agreed to if she dropped the lawsuit, but that obviously Jay-Z and his attorneys went back on that, because as soon as she dropped it with prejudice, here's next thing I wrote. Per the Busby and Jane Doe filing, the agreement was for a global walkaway, and that Jay-Z and attorneys agreed to not harass or interact with this Jane Doe. Now that's your agreement, and then less than a week later, y'all got 2 PIs on her doorstep. Hello. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I wrote less than a week later on 2/21/25, the PIs ambushed Jane Doe at her residence in violation of said agreement. There are emails allegedly proving about the agreement and negotiations between the attorneys that Busby attached to the filing, along with those from the original attorney for Jane Doe. Okay, let's see. PI number 3 is named Ian Pillinger. He submitted a declaration on Jay-Z's behalf, and in it he says that he was provided the name of Jane Doe on 10/20/24. Now here's what I'm talking about, and I'm going to show you. Let me pull this up right here. Okay, y'all just bear with an old lady for a second. I'm just going to start. Let's see. I don't care nothing about that. Which way do I go? Okay. So, I'm going to turn my camera around and y'all, I apologize and all that good stuff. But I'm going to be showing you my screen. Let me see. I'm trying to make it as big as I can. I took screenshots. Okay, whatever. I can't do it no better than I got done. I haven't been able to edit these. Y'all are catching this first. I'm editing these pictures, these screenshots, and some audio clips, and I will be putting out a short form video, but it'll be nowhere near as in depth as what we're talking about today. But here we go. Let's see. Let me make sure which direction. Okay, all right. That's what I needed to know. I'm just going to... Iron Pepper is in there showing out in the other room, so I'm going to have to be fast as I can. Okay. Hopefully, let's see. I don't have to be online, so let me... I'm doing some things to try and make sure that we don't interrupt the internet until we have to. I mean, the connection when I move the phone. I know that sounds weird. But these are pictures that I have saved onto the laptop. Okay. And I have to keep the phone in a certain area to keep signal. I know that. Well, Miss Justice, I'm doing... Y'all, my house is a hot mess. But I'm back. I have 4 days left to get out. I don't want to talk. I can't. Ooh, hey, Bluebell. Okay. I'm trying to... Ooh, that's too big. I'm trying to make it big if I can. Let's see. That's too big. Okay. You see, it says CNN never altered the video and did not destroy the original copy of the footage, which was retained by the source. CNN aired the story about the video several months before Combs was arrested. Okay. Y'all just bear with me. And I'm sorry, everybody's going to be talking about me sounding snotty or whatever. It's the best I can do with everything I got going on. Our written and oral communications with CNN's counsel were clear. They destroyed the original video file they received from their source. This is a quote from Diddy's defense team. Okay, this is where it gets good. Hold on. I just wish it would let me move it over. Okay. This is a picture of Jay-Z and Alex Spiro. I want to zoom in on what's highlighted if I can. Okay, you see the red arrow? That's the direct quote from the filing, and you can see it larger. Jay-Z's lawsuit, page 14, says, Mr. Carter first became aware of Doe's identity on or around February 21st, 2025, and has never met or interacted in any way with Jane Doe. I want y'all to remember what I just said, okay? It says, that's the statement on page 14 of Jay-Z's lawsuit against Busby. I'm going to read it one more time. This is a direct quote from page 14 of the lawsuit. Mr. Carter first became aware of Doe's identity. He didn't know who she was to send a PI after researching her, allegedly, until February 21st, 2025. And he has never met or interacted in any way with Jane Doe. Okay? What's up, Cherokee? Now remember that, because I'm about to show y'all the real. Let's see if I can make this bigger. By the way, Remember the PIs I was talking about visiting TikTokers? I have to go smaller because I can't pull this over. See the guy right here? Ball cap. Thin blue line ball cap. And what they're saying is kind of, you see right there, it says, okay, Robert. Because he introduced himself as Robert James, the private investigators. Remember that. Everything I just went over, I'm showing y'all where I'm getting it from. Here we go. This is Tony Busby's post about the private investigators. Please look at these guys right here. All right. Ooh, I touched something. I hope I didn't mess it up. All right, y'all. Next picture. Now, here is a split screen of one of the PIs that was visiting, the one without the hat, and the other one. The one that Busby posted and the one that visited the TikTokers, side by side. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Right there, those two. And I'm showing as close as I can. Could that be the same one? One has on glasses and one has on sunglasses. I can't tell if they're the type that tint themselves. But, what y'all think? Gosh, I don't know. I don't have a mouse. I've got so much stuff packed up, you guys. I can't get to everything, and I apologize. I'm doing the best that I can right now. Again, this is just the TikTok that was posted by the guy that they visited. And it says, private investigators visit influencer about Diddy. And then it says, you're at my home. This is not okay. Those of you that have left are really going to miss the good stuff. I see the numbers went down and it done. Y'all are going to miss the stuff. Hold on, I'm trying to see. He asked them to go away from his house, and they say probably not because they're in public, which they do have every right to be. They have questions. Let's see. It says that we were just hired to speak to and you can't see, it's basically saying we were just hired to speak to influencers that have a lot of followers. Now, mind you, all of this occurred around the same time as this filing against Jay-Z happened. And this guy with the thin blue line hat, and the other guy that you can't see, hold on, I'll go to another picture. Hold on. And this is where they ask him if it's about Diddy. And they say, people are just something like that. I hate captions because it's not. It said in the video, or somebody like that. Basically, simple questions. I'm trying to get the other guy on camera without having to go back and skipping the filings. Let's see. Okay. This is where the New York stuff comes in. And I don't know if y'all are going to be able to see this. But that's part of the actual PI statements with Jane Doe. It's not a real clear one, and I apologize, but that's where she asked them how they found her. This is what this TikToker acquired from New York about the detective that I was talking about. The guys that were meeting the influencers, let's see, hold on, said that his name was Robert James. The male private investigator that was with the female that showed up at Jane Doe's house asking about the Jay-Z lawsuit, his name is James Robert. I'm trying to make this big enough. Some of this is just not big enough for you guys to even be able to see. So here's Charlotte Henderson. And this is her declaration that I was talking about that I read y'all directly. It was February 21st, 2025, when they showed up at her house. The lawsuit was settled on the 14th without prejudice. We're going to go over the entire statement. This is the important one right here. Let me get this where you guys can see it. I want y'all to see this. You see where the arrow's pointing? That date is 10/20/24. That's the filing. Read this right here. I was provided with the name of Jane Doe on October 20th, 2024. The filing date of Jane Doe's case, plaintiff Jane Doe, against Sean Combs, Daddy's House Recordings, blah, 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 that Jay-Z was named in, was filed the same day that this PI stated that he was given Jane Doe's true identity. That is what is so worrisome to me. How? If your clients don't know her, remember, let's go back to this. Hold on. I want to go back to that statement now that I showed y'all. I'm getting there, I promise. With Alex Spiro and Jay-Z right here. See, here we go. Page 14 of the lawsuit against Busby. Jay-Z's lawsuit, page 14, says that Mr. Carter first became aware of Doe's identity on or around February 21st, 2025, and has never met or interacted in any way with her. That's the day the private investigators showed up at her house. But PI number 3, Ian Pillager, in his sworn statement to the court right here, says he was provided with the name of Jane Doe on 10/20/2024. Jane Doe's case was filed that day. How can you know Jane Doe's real identity on the day she was filed? Anybody involved and named in the case. How could they know the true identity of Jane Doe to hire a PI to come after her and investigate her if they've never met her and they never interacted with her and they don't know her? That's what I want to know. And therefore, either somebody's lying or there's a leak in the court system somewhere that put the victim in jeopardy. That's my point. And just to go further to show y'all that that statement is true and was in the filing, this is the declaration of Ian Pillager. I'm going to have to go one smaller. It says, and right here, I'm going to show it to you and then I'm going to read it because I can't hold the phone and read. And I know y'all getting dizzy. I'm sorry. It says, I, Ian Pillager, declare as follows. I make this declaration in support of plaintiff's ex parte application in connection with defendant's special motion to strike, unless otherwise noted. I have personal knowledge of the facts stated herein, and if called upon to testify, I could and would competently testify thereto. I am an employee of Guidepost Solutions, LLC, which is licensed to conduct investigations in the state of New York. So, we got James Robert Butler and Charlotte Henderson that show up in Alabama. That's the first two PIs. Then we got the two male PIs that show up around the time that the filing happened in October, November. If y'all remember, it was around Thanksgiving that they was coming to people's houses. This was filed in October. I'm just saying, what a timeline, a coincidence. Because one of the PIs is named what? Robert James. And then one of the PIs that shows up at Jane Doe's is named James Robert. And the PIs that came to the TikTokers, the one with the thin blue line hat, the other one that I showed you that looks like the PI that Busby identified, says they're ex-detectives out of New York. There is a James Robert Butler that was a former detective in Manhattan. I'm just saying, coincidence is abounding. Now let me finish reading Ian's statement, okay? We got to the New York part. Oh, and by the way, those two PIs that showed up at the TikTok and YouTubers, they did seem to have New York accents. I'm just saying. Oh, and Jay-Z's attorney's out of New York too. Now I mentioned that. Now, could somebody have leaked Jane Doe's information? Abso-freaking-lutely. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we need to know who did that. If it was a court official that leaked it to Jay-Z's team, we need to know that. Because victims of SA and DV and other crimes need to feel that they can be protected when they're promised protection by the court system. Not that if somebody got a big dollar bill, y'all, they're going to be giving up. That's why they don't come forward now. Fear of retaliation. Okay. Ian Pillager goes on to say in his sworn declaration to the court, I was provided with the name of plaintiff Jane Doe. In quotes, he put Ms. Doe. The person on whose behalf the defendants filed the lawsuit captioned Jane Doe versus Sean Combs et al., and it has got the case number, in the Southern District of New York on October 20th, 2024. I was provided the name of Jane Doe on October 20th, 2024. And by the way, who he's saying that he's there, this declaration, is attached to Jay-Z's lawsuit against Busby. He's representing Jay-Z's team against Busby. Mr. Pillager is. Based on publicly available records and internet searches, this investigation revealed the following information about Jane Doe. To protect Ms. Doe's privacy and identity, I am not disclosing her name. How did he get her name in the first place? I think he should have to come before a court and answer that. I think they should have to tell who the hell they're working for and how they knew her name. That's scary to me. As a survivor, this shit scares me. Okay, he further says Jane Doe has a legally documented history of mental health issues. Her parents have custody of her son. And she lost custody of her daughter. Something an Alabama court determined, after an Alabama court determined that Jane Doe has engaged in a series of actions before and after the child's birth that the court found to be and I can't read the word, basically they found that she did some shit that wasn't good for raising a kid. According to the court, and by the way, you notice they told us an Alabama court, right? Then the two PIs showed up and said they could record her without her knowledge because Alabama is a one-party state. How many times do we got to be told, we're not going to tell you who Jane Doe is, but she's ex-military, and she's got injuries from that. She been in a mental hospital. She don't have custody of her kids, and she lost them in an Alabama court. We could record her without her permission because it was in Alabama, and it's a one-party state. Y'all wonder why this woman dropped this lawsuit? Let's keep it 100. Okay. According to the court, in that case, Jane Doe has a history of bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, comprehensive disorder. Oh, she's OCD. And PNES, I ain't never heard of that. Something psychogenic neuroplastic seizures. Oh, bless her soul. And that's why she lost custody. Okay. So, let's see. Why am I skipping? Hold on. That might be the last. Let me look. I do want to show you this one too. So where the guy's talking to the guy. Just, let's see, turn the camera around. I don't know if I made this clear. But you can see it says, OK, Roberts. That's the PI that I think looks like the one that Busby posted. Okay, now, Shaduki. I think, y'all went on a ride just now. What have I done? Oh, mercy. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying. Okay. I'm having to do this late at night, by the way, for those that are inquiring. Because for some reason, if y'all notice the other live streams that weren't done, like this time of night, it keeps buffering and cutting out. I think that's because of the high volume use and the type of internet, Wi-Fi stuff I'm doing. I think that's the problem. So, I'm just trying to combat that. Okay. Hold on. I'm making sure that I showed y'all all the pictures that I had. I think that's it. So now I need to go to audio that I want to play. Okay. Let's pray that this will work. And then I'll be able, aha, I've got it saved too. Let's see.
Be here. Who is the one who is making sure that you're at my door right now? Ask.
Okay. No, I gotta turn the Wi-Fi back on. That's what's wrong. Hold on a minute, y'all. I gotta reconnect to the internet. Okay.
Asking, not my door, but a door that I used to live at. Same names, but they also told her that they were retired police detectives from New York. Again, they don't.
Can you guys hear this, or do I need to try to? Let me turn it up. Are y'all able to hear what I'm playing?
Explain who they're working for, so I'm asking them again. Who hired you to be here? Who is the one who is making sure that you're at my door right now, asking, not my door, but a door that I used to live at, asking these questions? They won't say who. Then I'm saying, okay, if you guys are private investigators, what is the name of your LLC, or what is the name of
hold
your
on, shoot.
corporation? Give me that. Because you're willing to own up to the fact that you're being private investigators. Which company is this person paying to? They won't say. They even go as far as to say, we don't have an LLC and we don't have a corporation. Whoever their client is paying them directly to their name. The whole conversation ended somewhat amicably. I said, you know what? Forgive me for being hostile, but I have no idea who you are or what you're doing or what pretenses you are coming to this person's door under, and I need that information. And they just essentially say, oh, you're not going to hear anything more from us. We're investigators. We're former law enforcement. You know, apparently they're from New York, and now.
You hear that? They're investigators. They're asking, knocking on the doors within a week and a half of the original Jane Doe filing, asking questions about the reporting being done. They identify themselves as PIs. They won't tell her where they're from or who they work for, but they're former law enforcement from New York.
Now that they've gotten this information from me, I'm never going to see them again, and that's it. Which is why I say these private investigators might have just slipped up big time, because if Tony Busby is able to prove that the one private investigator that was going to question that Jane Doe and saying that he wasn't hired by Jay-Z or his counsel is the same private investigator that was with this private investigator that Tony Busby caught on camera and allegedly on tape trying to bribe his former clients to sue him, and he has 3 lawsuits out against Rock Nation and Quinn Emanuel over that might be a huge deal. Even the way these private investigators word in this full transcript conversation with this Jane Doe about being hired by Jay-Z is honestly kind of bad. Now, the way these private investigators talk to this Jane Doe is honestly kind of messed up, but let's go ahead and get into this full transcript of the conversation. So the Jane Doe's name is still blacked out, and she says, hi, how can I help y'all? And the private...
I want y'all to listen carefully to this, but I'm actually going to go to a different reporting of the transcript that shows it better. Let me just find... come on, YouTube. That's what I feel like saying to YouTube right now. Sorry, you guys. Why? History, thank you. Lord, I had it saved. And then we also going to talk about the track meet in Virginia. Right now, while I'm getting this queued up, you guys tell me, do y'all think, first of all, give me a 2 in the chat if you've seen the video of the 2 runners in Virginia, the 2 females, and one hit the other one in the head with the baton while I'm getting this queued up. Oh, I'll show you the video if you haven't. Because I want to know your opinion. Do y'all think it was an accident or do y'all think it was an on purpose? I just couldn't believe when the girl said, I know you're hurt. You got hit and a concussion and a possible cracked skull. And you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental. Bruh, you hit her. What you mean? It'd be like I walk up and smack you in the head with a pole, and people threaten me or talk shit to me because I did that. And I'd be like, I know you got hurt, Sally, but you're not thinking about my mental from what happened to you. Where did they do that at? And I'm going to say this unequivocally. People get mad at me or whatever. But the parents supporting her and the community wanting to come out and them throw like some kind of little party and have people say we support her and no she didn't do this and that. That's what's wrong with our kids today. It started off with everybody gets a participation trophy. Life sucks. I can testify to it. You don't always win no matter how hard you try and how hard you work. It just doesn't happen. It's not always the best person that gets the job or wins. Shit happens. All you can do is do your best and make yourself happy and proud and try to be good to the people around you and be honest and true and hold on to your faith and your God and know that if you're doing the right thing, that you're going to persevere. Hitting somebody in the head because prior to the relay, which ain't been told to people, the girl that got hit in the head set a record for a 55-second sprint. And the girl that did the hitting came in last place. Then she's getting passed on the last leg of the relay by the same girl that took first place. And if you saw when the news went into the interview, they showed all her trophies and awards and ribbons. She's not used to not being the best because she's pretty, she's beautiful. And how long have we heard that the star football player or the star basketball player couldn't even read and write and went to college on a scholarship, or had somebody that did their homework for them and everybody turned a blind eye, or that they didn't turn in their assignments and didn't do this and didn't do that, but because of who they were and what they could do for the school and sports, it didn't matter and they got by with it. They got by with not taking no for an answer. They got by with speeding and drinking and driving and partying or failing this test. They got by. And the lack of accountability, even from this girl's parents, I personally believe, is what prompted the other girl's parents to push for charges. And she's been charged criminally. Mind you, the girl that got hit is 16 years old. The girl that wielded the baton is 18 years old. Just saying. And while I'm queuing up these court documents, here's another little piece of interest for everybody. While I'm going to be equally offensive to everybody. America has always been, in democracy, it's majority rules, right? So why is everybody having to defer and having their rights trampled and to take their liberties taken away for the minority? And when I say that, I'm talking about the trans athlete debate. In my personal opinion, if we're going to have transgender athletes, men that are now women, competing in women's sports, then what the hell is the point in separating men's and women's sports? Just lump them all together. They ain't no. Why should we have men's boxing and women's boxing? Just have boxing. I mean, if there's not a need to differentiate and there's no difference in body strength and size, why do we need to separate them? Why ain't they all together, period? I know Serena Williams spoke out, the tennis player, and she said, as great a tennis player as she is, and let me tell you something, that woman's built like a horse. Okay, she's stout. One of the worst professional tennis players would whoop her ass, is what she said. They even showed a mixed doubles match. She barely got a hit in. I don't know what the answer is to make everybody feel included. My answer is everybody may love basketball, but everybody can't play. Choices that we make in our life sometimes prevent us from being able to do other things. So if you're an athlete and you want to compete in track and field and you're a man and you transition, you either compete as a man or you don't do it. If it's not fair, without adding all the extra letters and colors and stuff, if it's not fair when we just had the two genders to mix them together, why is it otherwise? Why is there a separation originally between men and women in sports? That's the core foundation that we got to start from, and the core question we have to ask before we can answer the question, in my personal opinion. And people can disagree with me. That's the great thing about America. We can all have whatever screwed up opinions we want. But at the end of the day, when we're voting on something, the majority rules. And it sucks sometimes. It really does. Because sometimes the majority of us are idiots. And sometimes we're not. I'm still stuck on, what do you guys think about all the pardons and the documents that it's now coming out that were signed with AutoPen and that Joe Biden's saying he don't remember signing part of? Are they legal and binding or not? I think that the AutoPen signature should be okay for like press statements and, things like that. But if you're signing an executive order or you're signing something that has money involved or another country or foreign policy, it damn well better be your real signature. Your ass gets paid enough to get up and put the pudding down and sign yourself. Who had Joe Biden's card to put into the auto signing machine and sign his signature even if he didn't know about it? Can we get him tested to find out if he has dementia or Alzheimer's? Because that would be relevant as to whether or not those could stand in a court of law. It's going to be some ish. Watch. Y'all remember, I said it first. I predicted it along with some other ish. I predicted it's coming to fruition. Here we go. Full convo revealed. Y'all bear with me.
If every time you see an ad, you just want to...
Yeah, that's what I want to do to the ad right now. Skip. Full screen. Let's see. Let's speed it up. I'm going to fast forward. right here, I think. Let's see. Hold on.
It's not hearsay, and if called upon to testify, I could and would.
Okay, I gotta rewind just a little bit. Some of this is gonna be repetitive, as to what I've already said, and I do apologize for that. Um, I agree, Miss Justice, fully and wholeheartedly. There should be a competency test. You got to go get a test to get your driver's license or your CDLs or whatever. You know, or to be a police officer, and periodically you have to pass exams and get retested. If you're a nurse and a lawyer, a doctor, police officer, I damn sure think the person that's leading any country, not just the United States, any country, should have to pass a competency exam, you know, every so often, or if they exhibit certain traits. And let me tell you something. I'll admit it, I voted for Joe Biden's ace, and I still think he should have to answer some questions. There's some real some shit that went on that shouldn't have went on. Period. Now, I'm not telling y'all I'm 100% happy with Elon Musk or Trump, but I will say this. Have y'all been watching it? Our astronauts in several other countries' astronauts are coming home, and we can thank Elon Musk's space program. By the way, documents and proof has been released that he offered to do it for free, but the Biden administration blocked it. Why? Allegedly, this is the alleged part. Allegedly, in my personal opinion, from what I've read and seen and found, it seems that they were afraid to let him do that at that time because he was already supporting Trump and campaigning for Trump. And they thought it'd be a surefire way for Kamala to lose. Ain't that some bullshit? There's been a whole lot of hinky shit going on in our country. And please don't tell me that our government won't lie to us or deceive or manipulate us, because I'll tell you, you need to go get a mental evaluation. There's too many false flag operations that have been declassified, and we know about them. We know about our government lying to us to cause us to go to war, and our sons and daughters and brothers and uncles and cousins dying for nothing. For nothing. How many people protested the Vietnam conflict and went to jail and were ostracized for that protest? Now, mind you, I do not at all support the treatment of our troops when they came home. Those men were fighting for something they believed was to help them and their families and every American citizen. Their minds and their hearts were in the right place. They did not deserve that treatment. Maybe our government and the bastards up there on Capitol Hill did, but not the men in the uniform. That's the part that we as citizens had screwed up. I know. How did that occur, Miss Justice? Is that how it normally happens? She's talking about the new Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, do y'all never get to elect one? You just get one that's appointed? Or was that some kind of special circumstance? I wondered that. I'm going to mute for a moment, and I'm going to blow my nose again because I got upset. And I apologize. But it is what it is. It's been a rough day. So I'm going to mute, and then we're going to listen to the full reading of the statement from the private investigators. And y'all tell me I led y'all astray. Oh yeah, real quick. Also, anybody that's in my area or interested that's in my area between now and Saturday at 5 p.m., I will be having a bag/yard sale. All furniture items will be $5 to $20 per item, no more than 20, except for the dryer. I just can't let an $1,100 dryer go for $20. Um, and all clothing, shoes, appliances, etc. You bring a paper bag or a regular size food line bag or, Walmart bag, whatever. And I do have some to provide. Stuff everything you can stuff in it for $5. That is to help minimize what I have to move or find somewhere to get rid of. Because the sooner that I can get everything out of here and moved, the sooner I can not be homeless. So, it is what it is. Technically, as of Saturday, I'm homeless. And I'm, whatever that I can fit, basically, in 2 cars and the back of a pickup truck, if they can get it great. I was supposed to have somewhere to take it, and they backed out. Kind of like the people that was taking the dog at the last minute again. It's just a lot. I don't want to. We're going to go back to the reading. Okay. So, let me see. I got it. Probably unmute, Nita.
Charlotte Henderson.
Here we go.
Charlotte Henderson declares as follows. I make this declaration in support of the plaintiff's ex parte application in connection with the defendant's special motion to strike. Unless otherwise noted, I have personal knowledge of the facts stated herein. It's not hearsay, and if called upon to testify, I could and would.
Can y'all hear this?
Testify thereto. She's licensed. She has a company with investigations. She's worked in the legal profession for over 40 years, including as a paralegal, and she's worked with attorneys her entire career. She's been a private investigator for 20 years, and as an investigator, she's interviewed a wide range of cases, including criminal cases.
Again, what you guys are listening to in the background is a reading of the full recording transcript of the PIs and Jane Doe. And I really want y'all to listen, because everything that I've told you that's upsetting to me and that I feel is important, to me, it doesn't matter if Jane Doe was telling the truth or not. But it sure makes it look like there was some truth in her story. Because again, how could she have filed her case on October 20th, 2024, and on October 20th, 2024, the third investigator, Ian Pillager, was given her name to start investigating her? And my other question is, we got Ian Pillager and Charlotte Henderson giving declarations to the court in writing and statements. But why don't we have James Robert Butler giving any statements or information? Now, in the transcript portion of this document that's being read, what James Robert Butler says is quoted. But unlike the other 2 PIs, he does not give a straight declarative statement. Is that because he doesn't want to be questioned about any knowledge of what went on with Busby's clients or the YouTube and TikTokers that were questioned? I'm just saying, just wondering, asking for a friend. Don't come after me. I got no money, Jay-Z. I'm homeless in 4 days. I got no money. I ain't got nothing left to take. I got to give my dog up or put it to sleep. Might as well let me be the one to say it. Okay, back to the thing. Sorry, y'all.
Tax fraud, automobile accidents, and she's testified in court before. So she is, by every stretch of the imagination, an expert in this.
Let me know if y'all can't hear for any reason.
Attorneys who have engaged with me have filed dozens of my declarations in court proceedings, and that conveyed what the person I interviewed told me. Never has a court found that I acted improperly, applied pressure, coerced a witness, or anything of the kind. Never has a court refused to admit or stricken a declaration from me attesting to what I heard a witness say. I've never been disciplined or had my license suspended. Hey, so she's doing better than Tony Busby. If y'all can't tell, I can't stand that guy. Anyway, we'll keep it moving. When interviewing Jane Doe on February 21st, 2025,
let me know if y'all can hear well.
Consent with the I conducted the interview consistent with the high standards for which I was trained as a licensed investigator and that I have observed through my career. The interview of Mrs. Doe was lawfully recorded, given that Alabama is a one-party consent state, and transcribed.
Notice, again, we have another investigator telling us what state Jane Doe was in. The first one was Ian Pillager's statement saying that in an Alabama court, that in an Alabama court, Jane Doe lost custody of her children. Okay? Now, this one is stating, we talked to her and recorded her. We didn't inform her, but Alabama is a one-party state, so we didn't have to. So they're not naming her, but we all know now that she lives in Alabama. I mean, I know it's a big state, it's a big country, but still, how did y'all find her? Our court system was supposed to protect her identity. How was Ian Pillager investigating her from that day? And there's more inconsistencies, right? Y'all remember, Jay-Z's attorney said that Jay-Z or his attorneys didn't hire them. They're not there representing Jay-Z, right? Remember that too. Remember that. Remember the dates. And remember what I said about how they find her in this, what we're about to hear.
What does that mean? Jane Doe did not know she was being recorded. It is what it is. A true and correct copy of the transcript of the interview is attached here too as Exhibit A. Redacted where Mrs. Doe's true name appears. Come on. I reviewed the transcript and the recording and confirmed the transcript accurately reflects the recorded interview and that the recording accurately reflects the conversation that I and James Robert Butler, another investigator who was present with me, had with Mrs. Doe on February 21st.
Now, again, remember I called attention to the fact she names right here that James Robert Butler is another PI that was there with her. Why is he not giving a declaration? Charlotte Henderson did. Ian Pillager did. But we've not heard directly from James Robert Butler. And wonder if he knows Robert James, the PI that's an ex-detective also from New York. Okay, on to the next one.
I was provided with and reviewed the second declaration of Jane Doe in response to Sean Carter's proffer. We're going to skip through that. That's cool. We don't really worry about that. In the following paragraphs, I identify her disputes with my declaration and necessarily with what she said during our in-person conversation. I clear the record about what she said to me and Mr.
Maybe
Butler.
that sounds
In
better.
paragraph 8, which we'll get to, of Mrs. Doe's declaration, she claims that she told both me and Mr. Butler that we needed to leave as soon as she had figured out who we were. So she
Okay. I also want y'all to remember that statement right there. They're saying that she didn't tell them to leave as soon as she figured out who they were. Remember that when we get near the end of this, where her answer to the question, after she finds out they're there representing Jay-Z, that Jay-Z sent them to her. Pay attention. I'm going to stop and remind y'all. But just FYI, keep that in mind. They're saying she didn't tell them to leave as soon as she figured out who they were. Y'all be the judge.
She probably lied again. We're going to get into it, y'all. We've got the full thing here. In claiming that she told...
Also, the person reading this, because my throat's killing me and this is helpful, honestly. They don't like Busby and they don't believe the complaining victim at all. But watch what happens when they get into a certain part of this transcript.
Told us to leave. Mrs. Doe is lying.
So the PI's just called Jane Doe a liar.
As the transcript of our conversation confirms, not once in the entire 15-page transcript does she tell us to leave or use any words to that effect. Rather, as the transcript reflects, Mrs. Doe openly...
And let me say this. She's in Alabama, the South, like me. And honey, here in the South, we might tell you something in a very nice way. You know, we might be telling you to get the hell off my porch and out my yard. But it don't come across that way. We might be telling you we think you're an idiot wrapped in a moron. And that we don't believe nothing you're saying. But we don't say it that way. Instead of telling you you're an idiot wrapped in a moron and I don't believe a damn word coming out your mouth, the nice way to say it is, oh, honey, bless your heart. God bless you. I'll talk to you later. Same thing. I just said the same thing. Just remember that.
And willingly, Mrs. Doe spoke openly and willingly with us and freely answered our questions. She was free to leave, go back inside her home at any point and end the conversation. She chose not to. People say, oh, she was scared. She was upset. Stop it, yo.
Again, this guy doesn't believe that Jane Doe was scared or intimidated that's reading this. So that's the slant he's coming from. And I chose this for a reason. Because I want you to see the difference in attitude and tone during certain portions of this transcript. I think that's very important.
In paragraph 9 of Mrs. Doe's declaration, she claims that she never told me anything about the facts in paragraph 9C of my declaration, which states, Mrs. Doe met with Tony Busby for the first time in Houston, Texas. He paid to fly her there. Their meeting to discuss the case took place when Ms. Doe flew out for an interview that Tony Busby had arranged for Mrs. Doe to give NBC News in Mr. Busby's office. So, again, this is the second time, or probably the third time by now, that we've confirmed that Tony Busby set up that horrible, remember, NBC got in contact with her father is denying that she said that to me.
Commercial, sorry. We're going to skip that. I hope that you guys can tell by his attitude that he's not a Busby fan and that he doesn't believe Jane Doe. I find that really important.
Doe is lying. As the transcript of our conversation confirms, Mrs. Doe told me he flew me out to Houston. He paid for it. The first time I met him was in a coffee shop in Houston. We talked about what all was going to go through, or what all I was going to go through, I guess, and what all had happened. Mrs. Doe's father said to me, Mrs. Doe further said to me, Tony, which I understood in this context to refer to Tony Busby, set up the interview with NBC that took place in Tony Busby's office in Houston, and that it was the same time he flew me out as when they met in the coffee shop.
We're almost to the actual conversation.
Declaration. She lies again. She disputes that she told me that Mr. Carter did not assault her. Miss Doe is lying.
Now, I want y'all to hear this. The PI in this portion we're hearing right now is saying that in the transcript that we're about to hear, that we will hear Jane Doe confirm that she was lying and that Jay-Z did nothing to her. That she doesn't sound or seem intimidated, that they didn't use any language or words or any intimidation tactics. I maintain as a survivor, if I was supposed to have anonymity and be noted as Jane Doe, and I had settled this case, and 2 PIs showed up on my doorstep asking me questions about the big name person that I was saying did something to me, and then told me they were working for somebody affiliated with him, I would feel intimidated. Especially if I had previously been told something was going to happen to me. And there's certain wordings that we're about to hear that I personally feel were intimidation tactics. And those of you that are here listening, or that listen in the replay, and that are survivors or are familiar with what it feels like to be a DVSA survivor, whether it's your mama, your sister, your brother, your best friend, your wife, whatever. Let me know if any of this would be intimidating to you.
She told me that several times. As the transcript of our conversation confirms, Miss Doe made the following statements to me about Mr. Carter during our conversation. What did she say? Jay-Z had nothing to do with this, correct? Right. Other than...
I want you also to note that 90% of Jane Doe's responses are one word.
And he was at the party that you were at, so I mean, he did not assault you? No. He was just there, but he didn't have anything to do with any of the assaults towards you. It was strictly, she said, yeah. Charlotte Henderson says, yeah. And we're not dismissing the fact that something happened to you. That has nothing to do with, but we just want to clarify that Jay-Z did not have anything to do with it and that he didn't assault you. And
let me say something right here. Every question that we're going to hear and comment is only about Jay-Z's involvement. Not about anyone else named in this lawsuit. But Jay-Z and his attorneys didn't hire these PIs or send them on his behalf, right? It's what they've all said, but wait till we get to the rest of this and you tell me.
And James Robert Butler says, is that...
And if I was Diddy, your boy's throwing you under the bus in his suit. I mean, yeah, it benefited you because it got dropped on both of y'all. But he ain't defending you. If it's your best friend, you in deep doo-doo, my G.
Is that a fair assessment? And she said, yeah. Now, those are very vague answers and seem pretty easy to dispute, but obviously they're showing throughout this that Jane Doe lied. So let's actually get into the transcript here. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit so we can find the full transcript.
That was the part they put for Good Morning America.
So this interview took place on the 21st.
Here's the full interview coming now.
Here we go. We've got birds chirping, footsteps knocking on the door, dog barking. We're setting the scene. Oh, this is exciting. All right, here we go. Obviously, this is Jane Doe. Hi, how can I help y'all? The private investigator. Hey, how are you? Good, says Jane Doe. Miss Henderson says, uh-oh, puppy. I guess she was in the way of a dog. Can you step out for a second, or can you... I don't want him to bite us. She's got a dog there. Jane Doe says, oh, he doesn't bite. Charlotte Henderson says, okay. Jane Doe, how can I help y'all? James Robert Butler says, how is everything? And she says her first name. And she said, Jane Doe says, yeah. James Robert Butler says, how you doing? My name is Robert. This is Charlotte. We just came to kind of talk to you.
Hold the front door. Can I rewind and replay that? Now remember, the ex-police officer that came to YouTubers and TikToker identified himself as Robert James. This guy's name is James Robert Butler, but he just identified himself to Jane Doe as Robert. The same way the guy identified himself to the YouTubers and the TikTokers. The same way that someone identified themselves to my neighbors during that same time frame that was hunting me. They're from New York, all of them. By the way. Just saying. Coincidence.
Real quick, kind of run a couple things by you. We just wanted to see what was going on. I know there's kind of a court case going. It's gone away. Jane Doe says, yeah. Mr. Butler.
I paused and I'm going to give it a moment because it disconnected and reconnected. And it's awful weird. I've had a strong connection with no issues. And all of a sudden, I start playing this and there's a problem.
So we're just trying to figure out what happened with that. We're actually thinking that you might have been taken advantage of a little bit by maybe an attorney, Tony Busby.
Not leading at all.
Does that sound like something? Maybe that? Jane Doe said, hold on, who are you guys? Charlotte Henderson says, we're not here to hurt you or anything. We just want to talk.
Okay. Why would you feel the need to, at the beginning of your conversation, tell this woman, we're not here to hurt you or anything? Remember that, because it's not the only time it's going to become relevant.
That's weird that she would say that. I'm not going to lie. Why would she say that?
He's talking back to me.
Maybe Jane Doe looks scared or worried. Jane Doe says, how did you find out where I am? How did you find out who I am?
That part. Did y'all just hear that? Jane Doe, within the first introduction to these people, within less than 30 seconds, how did you find out where I am? How did you find out who I am? Because she's Jane Doe. She's supposed to have anonymity. Not even the legal representation for the accused is supposed to know who she is. So with that understanding, the only way that I can say, in my opinion, that someone would know who she is, to have her investigated, to send people to her, is if they knew her. But Jay-Z never knew her until February the 21st, according to the statement in page 14 of his filing against Busby. Never met her. Don't know her. Remember that.
Mr. Butler says, well, based on the interview and all the paperwork that we've got, it was all kind of pieced together. But listen. And Charlotte Henderson says, you're going to remain
bullshit.
Jane Doe, so you don't have to worry. We're not going to leak your identity. Oh, well. Mr. Butler.
We're not.
Simply,
don't worry.
They don't want your name to come out at all. There's kind of okay with that, with you being a Jane Doe. But obviously, now that everything's been dropped, they want to clear everything and make sure that, basically, I had a few questions. We want to clear things up. Jane Doe says, okay, Mr. Butler, hoping that, again, if you cooperate and kind of tell us what's going on, everything remains a Jane Doe. We don't tell anybody who you are or what's going on. Nothing. Oh.
Okay, now let me say this. Again, he says, if you cooperate and kind of tell us what's going on, everything remains a Jane Doe. We don't tell anybody who you are or what's going on. Nothing. Does that sound like an implied threat at that point? Because what happens if she doesn't cooperate is what's implied. What happens if she doesn't tell them what they want to know? If she doesn't agree with what they say, what happens? What's implied? In my personal opinion, this document, reading it, and the statements, I would infer that my name's going to be released, that I'm going to be doxxed.
This sounds like a threat.
Oh, what?
I don't
Hold
know.
up. This is the person that's reading this that I'm playing for you for a reason. He don't like Busby. He thinks Jane Doe's a liar. But he just said it sounds like a threat.
I don't know about y'all, but it kind of sounds like Mr. Butler's threatening her a little bit. Saying, hey, if you talk to us, you can still remain a Jane Doe. We just want to know what happens. If you don't talk to us, I mean, maybe your little puppy there might be in trouble. I don't know. This sounds like a veiled threat to me, Mr. Butler. I don't like it personally, but hey, we'll keep it moving. Apparently.
Again, this is someone who, if you rewind at the beginning, says, I don't like Busby at all. I think Jane Doe's a liar. And this is his reaction to the conversation. This is why I wanted to play this reading and talk about it.
Apparently, according to Mrs. Henderson, they were doing everything by the letter of the law of investigators, so we'll keep it going. Jane Doe says, okay. Mr. Butler says, so a couple of quick questions was, how did you end up approaching the attorney? Or did the attorney approach you? Or how did that work? Jane Doe said, something I saw on Facebook. Mr. Butler says, you saw what on Facebook? And
here we go. Hold on. Stupid commercial. Let me mute it. So, give me y'all's thoughts on what you're hearing in the comments section, if you don't mind. Please.
Do you mind if we just so that barking, all right? I'm sorry. Mr. Henderson, so he's getting annoyed at the dog. Miss Henderson says, it's okay. Jane Doe says, I'm just curious as to how y'all found out or figured out who I am and where I am, because they said they wouldn't release it even. Oh, she's getting mad at them.
Did y'all hear that? Let me reread this. Jane Doe asked the PIs, I'm just curious as to how y'all found out or figured out who I am and where I am. Because they said they wouldn't release it even. They being, as I understand, the court system. This is my problem. She was supposed to be protected. Whether, because of the way that the suit was dropped and settled, that protection never ended. This is why victims continue to be victimized. This is why we stay silent. Because the system fails us in every single way. Whether she was lying or telling the truth is something that's litigated in court. But because there were backdoor meetings and agreements and stuff signed that both agreed to and allegedly There are emails to prove the litigation didn't take place, to prove if she was being honest or not. So at this point, that's not answered. It's moot. But due to the way that it was settled, she was supposed to retain anonymity. Somebody had to tell something. Okay, back to the reading.
Busby. Mr. Butler says, so they kind of didn't, but just in the interview and
They kind of did.
like when you take 4 little pieces of things and you add them together, we narrowed it down, or maybe 20 or 30 people. And then eventually, just doing background checks and Facebook and everything kind of matches. We put the pieces together, we're investing.
Bullshit. Ian Pillager said, that's the third detective. These are just 2. Ian Pillager stated in his sworn declaration, and he was hired by whoever hired these people, that he was given Jane Doe's identity and name on October 20th of 2024. I showed y'all that already. The same day that Jane Doe filed her case. This interview that was being read right now is from February 21st of 2025, which coincidentally is the same date that Jay-Z is declaring that he found out who she was. So who gave Ian Pillager her name? Who knew it? Only the court system and Tony Busby, and if she was telling the truth, the people that perpetrated the acts against her. Period. So how did y'all find her? I think they should have to tell that. And if they don't have to tell who hired them, they should damn sure have to tell how they got her name. The day she filed the case. The very day. Back to this.
Investigators. That's what we do. And Charlotte
Bullshit.
said, and like I said, we still want you to be anonymous. Jane Doe says, okay, everything was Jane Doe, and that's exactly the way it's going to remain. But we just have a few questions. Okay. Mr. Butler says, so you found what? You found a lawyer, or you found something on Facebook? Like, well, I found something on Facebook for the Ava law firm, and they put me in touch with Tony, and then that's how it went, which is...
Okay, and by the way, the Ava law firm is not the Busby law firm. That is the law firm she originally, hey Renegade, that she originally went to. And in where they do their client intake, she stated Jay-Z's name. Before Busby ever knew Jane Doe, ever knew of her case, she put Jay-Z's name down right next to Diddy's name. And those papers have been attached to Busby's filings. That's important because for them to say that Busby put Jay-Z in is false. And I don't care for Busby. Like I told you, every time I look at him, I think of Better Call Saul. I don't particularly care for his tactics. I don't. I personally don't. There shouldn't have been no letters sent out. The court case should have just been filed and his ass should have been took to court. Period. I firmly believe that. That being said, I still think it's important that all sides tell the truth. How'd y'all find Jane Doe? How'd y'all get her name? And already, when they got there on the 21st, they knew who the hell she was before they rolled up. They already had her mental health records. They already had her service records. They're going to talk about it. Here we go.
The story we're hearing from all 3 sides. Tony, says Mr. Butler. Busby, says Jane Doe. Mr. Butler, so that's who you contacted first. did you ever meet him? Talking about Tony. And she says, yeah. Mr. Butler, oh, okay. We're just double checking because I know there were a lot of people who work in his office. Jane Doe says, yeah, no, I met him. He flew me out to... Mr. Butler says, Houston. She says, Houston. Okay, so you went...
By the way, let me point out too, at this point in the conversation, you'll notice, like I said, other than questioning, how do you find me? How do you know who I am? Asking those type questions. All of her answers to their questions have been like one or two words. You know, he flew, yes. No, I met him. He flew me to Houston. Plain and simple. She's not trying to give up extra information. She's still side-eyeing them. When she says that she was shaky and scared throughout this interview, and they said, oh no, she wasn't. She was just fine. Keep that in mind too as we listen to this.
You went and saw him there? Did you go by yourself? Yeah. Okay. Did he give you money to pay for the trip, or did he just reimburse you? No, he paid for it. He flew her out there, says Charlotte. Mr. Butler, right. So he did pay. Okay. Since the situation, have you been paid at all for what's going on? Now, when you first talked to him, was he promising you anything? Or did he help you with your story? Or you got your story on your own? Like, what was the initial meeting with him like? Mr. Butler's not great at asking questions. Jane Joe says, the first time I met him was in a coffee shop. Miss Henderson says, out here or in Houston, Texas? Jane Doe says, in Houston. Oh, okay. So you met him, and did you go through each steps, or he just sat down and you just talked? We talked about what all I was going to go through is I think what she meant to say, and what all had happened. Okay. So something happened, or did he tell you what happened? Jane Doe says, no, he didn't tell me what happened. Something actually happened when I was 13. I ran away, and I ended up there. Miss Henderson said, but did it involve anybody you named? It involved Jay-Z and Diddy, but not the other two. The other two?
We only knew of one
just
other.
3 of them. It involved Jay-Z and Diddy, but not the other two. So there's Celebrity B, but who's the 4th person she's talking about? Oh, this lady. Oh my gosh. All right. Butler says, okay. Why did it now get dropped then? Jane Doe says, because I was too scared to go forward with it. They told me he was threatening to kill me. Jay-Z was threatening. Miss Henderson says, who told you that? Jane Doe says, they told me Jay-Z was threatening to kill me. Mr. Butler says, who? Who told you that? The lawyers. The lawyers did? Busby? Yeah. He said that there were threats against my life and that saying anything else could get me in a lot of trouble. That he could come after me. Oh, man. Tony Busby was lying, too. Well,
like I said, both were sketchy.
That's probably what... So the problem is them going forward, I think they were facing a lot of repercussions from it. And I think they might have tried to talk you out of just getting rid of the case. She says, okay, whatever. So now I know you had the military service. How come, what happened to the military service that you kind of left early? I got injured. Oh, she was in the military? Oh, they're giving up some more of information about her. You got injured. We saw some of your Facebook stuff that said some of the issue you now have is from the military. All right. So as far as you're concerned, the whole story you gave is accurate. She says, yes. They just talked you into...
So, remember that. She just said that Jay-Z and Diddy were there, but not the other two. Now she's saying the whole story she gave is accurate. So, I'm waiting for her to say Jay-Z didn't do nothing to her. My thing is, remember, if you see something, say something. So, he was there, but he didn't do nothing. Why has he not said nothing all these years? Why is he not saying anything now?
To
see if it's answered.
Because now, well, I'm not going to say they talked you into it, but they kind of told you that. Jane Doe says, no, They talked me into dropping the case. Oh, Mr. Butler says, okay, and you were not planning to drop the case? Did they ever promise you money or just said, we'll see what happens? Or, well, they said that I would get a payout, but I already knew that was not 100% accurate. Miss Henderson says, did you sign an agreement or anything? Any kind of retainer? Like, when you retain them to handle the case, that they would get 50% or you would get 50? Yes, it was. I did sign something like that. Okay, that they would get it. Okay. And then when they dropped it, or when you dropped it, did you have to pay them expenses or anything? Okay. No. Okay. So you haven't paid them anything, and they haven't paid you anything. Okay. So you honestly believe, and I don't know the entire story of what happened when you were 13, why you ran away, and yada yada yada. But JD, what is this? JD, I mean Jay-Z. Yo, Charlotte, what you got going on? Chill out. JD, I mean Jay-Z, they honestly, and you feel like they assaulted you? Mr. Butler said, we don't know. It was more Diddy, but Busby brought Jay-Z into it. Uh-oh. This is what they were talking about. Mr. Butler says, see now, okay, if you don't mind, can you explain that? Because that's the kind of, he asked if Jay-Z was there. I said, yes. Mr. Butler says, so when you originally sat down at the coffee shop, you told him that Diddy did something to you. Yeah, because it started out, it was just Diddy and Celebrity B, I guess. That's J-Lo, man. Hey, can we...
I didn't say that. That's the other person saying that. So they think it is based on the size of the name. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Is it?
It's not me saying that.
It wouldn't have been Cassie back then.
It's not me saying that. Based on the type font, it could be anybody.
Celebrity B, man, it's killing me.
He just being nosy.
But not from your mouth? Yeah. So he's saying you didn't say it was Jay-Z. Mr. Butler, he asked you about Jay-Z? Yeah. But Jay-Z you're saying he was definitely there, but he had no part in it? Or he was just, Jane Doe says he was there. Amy says maybe Beyonce. Could Beyonce fit here too? I don't know.
They tried to go back to who is the female. Oh, here we go with another commercial. I apologize. So again, she's still saying that Jay-Z was there. Unequivocally. Okay, hold on.
I bet it was J-Lo though. Jay-Z was there, says Jane Doe. He was just there, but he didn't have anything to do with the acts towards you. It was strictly, Jane Doe says, yeah. Charlotte Henderson says, okay. Mr. Butler says, okay, and now we're talking about it was at a party or something like that, right? An after party? So he was just present at the party? Okay. So you only got into Jay-Z's name because he was asking you, and did he suggest that Jay-Z might have had some part in it? Well, he was the one that kind of pushed me towards going forward with him, with Jay-Z. With Jay-Z, Busby did? Yeah.
Remember, originally, Jay-Z was not identified. It was Diddy and Celebrity A and Celebrity Female B.
Do you know why? No. He never mentioned it? Did he ask, like...
We got to the good part yet.
Keep harping on it? Nope. Okay. Why did you do the interview with NBC? Who set that up? Tony did. Oh, God. Tony? Busby? Busby, she says. Busby, okay, so where did you do the interview? In Tony Busby's office in Houston. Okay, and he flew you out there again for that, or was it at the same time? No, it was at the same time. He flew me out. He called NBC, and he got them there, and yeah. Okay, that's all right. Listen, we definitely appreciate that you're being honest.
See, he's still saying she's a liar.
Because, like you said, again, when it comes to, like, Jay-Z, we're kind of on here on kind of his behalf-ish. Because we believe...
Did y'all just hear that? Should I read? Let me read that. Let me read this part again. Okay, that's all right. Now, this is James Robert Butler, according to the documents filed in court by the PI, Charlotte Henderson. And the audio transcript. Okay, that's all right. Listen, we definitely appreciate that you're being honest because, like you said, again, when it comes to like Jay-Z, we're kind of here on kind of his behalfish because we believe that he said, I don't even know what, you know, I had no part of that. And if you were pushed into saying that, that's something that's kind of worthwhile to us.
Believe that he said, I don't even know what you know. Okay, I don't like this part because this looks bad. Why would James Robert Butler say that he was kind of there on Jay-Z's behalf when Jay-Z said that they didn't send him there? Or Alex Spiro, through Jay-Z, said they didn't send him there.
That part, that's my question. And how did y'all know who Jane Doe is?
Okay, that's all right. Listen, we definitely appreciate that you're being honest because, like you said, again, when it comes to like Jay-Z, we're kind of here on kind of his behalf-ish because we believe that he said, I don't even know what I had no part of that. And if you were pushed into saying that, that's something that's kind of worthwhile to us. Yeah, says Charlotte Henderson. You're here on Jay-Z's behalf? Okay, he corrects himself. Mr. Butler says, well, nah, not on his behalf, but basically, I know if we do this, we're going to get a little bit of, I had some time, thought I'd stop by and see what you were up to. Charlotte Henderson
He's
said,
paraphrasing.
But Jay-Z had nothing to do with this, correct? Right. Miss Henderson says, other than he was at the party that you were at, so, I mean, he did not assault you? No. Miss Henderson says, would you be willing to give us an affidavit to that effect? And from what we were told, if you do an affidavit saying that this is true, they pretty much have said that they will remain keeping your name as Jane Doe all the way through. You will be a Jane Doe. They're a little more upset with, they think you're more of a victim.
Just listen.
On that end of the case, that they took advantage of you and kind of made you say things that maybe were not accurate to make the case better. Right. To get them more money. She says, yeah. She's ready for them to get up out of there. So if that's true, that's something that's something we need to know. Because again, I hate to say it, you have children, they have children also.
Listen to this part. I want y'all to listen to this part.
If one was responsible, that's one thing. One was not responsible. His kids, his wife, his family.
Wait.
Now they're hearing that he might be responsible for something that nobody wants to be accused of if they didn't do it. Do you understand that? Yeah. I'm sure you can understand that. I mean, yeah. Nobody wants their kids thinking bad of them. Right. So would you be willing to help us as far as the fact that the things that you said about Jay-Z were not correct? We just want to set the record straight so that he's able to, so that we can move on and this can get out of his, being accused of this because, it didn't happen, correct? Right? Correct? Huh? Yeah? And she said, you have a good day, guys. Oh, dang!
Soon as she figures out they're for Jay-Z.
A polite way to say, get off my porch.
That part.
Jane Doe was done. Jane Doe was done at this point.
That part.
She checked out. She's gone. And I think she checked out earlier in the conversation when she was like, how did you guys find me again? Charlotte Henderson said, hey, whatever your name is, come here. It's okay. So maybe she was upset. I promise, we're not going to hurt you. We're going to try. We're going to try and help you.
Again, addressing, we're not here to hurt you. If this lady was calm and composed, as you said at the beginning, not upset, nothing the entire time, didn't have a problem, told y'all 4 or 5 different times that Jay-Z didn't do nothing to her. She told y'all to have a good day as soon as she realized you were there on Jay-Z's behalf. She asked you how you found her and knew who she was. And then, not once but twice, in my opinion, there was implied threats in that conversation. to reveal her identity to the world at the very minimum. And why did they feel the need to tell her we're not here to hurt you? And nobody's got a problem with that? Let's finish.
We're not doing this to hurt you. This is all to help you. Believe me. What's wrong? Tell me. Talk to me. Yeah, she got upset. And yes, this happened after the case was dismissed on February 21st. Yeah, if you have any concerns, tell us what they are, and we'll see if we can just talk to me. If Jay-Z didn't have anything to do with it, it's okay. But if he did, we need to know. I mean, I promise you, we're not here to hurt you. And like I said, we're going to keep you out of it. You're going to be a Jane Doe. We're just going to set the record straight. That's really the only thing we're here for. I promise. I don't want him getting mad at me.
That's what Jane Doe says.
He's not. And I don't know where these threats, that came from Busby. And that never happened. Jay-Z never said anything like that. But you're saying he found me and you guys are here because he found me. I don't know that he found you. I don't know if he found you, says Mr. Butler. Like I said, we're going to keep your name as Jane Doe. We're just independent hires. Who hired them? Who hired them? So it wasn't Jay-Z. Who was it? Oh man, this is getting interesting. We're just independent hires by who?
Independent hires, yeah. Uh-huh.
Like we just come to talk to you and try to set the record straight.
Uh-huh.
That's all we're told to come here for. That's all we're told to come here for. And as long as you were honest and kept with it, they kind of said, we're going to get a lawyer to come. And a lawyer has nothing to do with anything. Have you sign an affidavit, set the record straight, and keep you as a Jane Doe. Just to kind of clear out,
So what if she don't cooperate? Are they going to do?
Charlotte Henderson says, right. We just want to know that Jay-Z he was there, but he had nothing to do with your assault. And that's all. Like, we're not asking you to say nothing bad happened to you. We're not here to say that you're, just that. Yeah. And we're not dismissing the fact that something happened to you. That has nothing to do with, but we just want to clarify that Jay-Z did not have anything to do with it and that he didn't assault you. Mr. Butler says, is that a fair assessment? She says, yeah. Okay, that's all. Miss Henderson says, that's all we need. That's all we want. And that's all we want to do is just ask you about that. And if you're willing to sign an affidavit to the fact that Jay-Z had nothing to do with it, and that's all it would say. It's not going to say anything else about anything else that happened to you that night. Just that he was not a participant. Then,
wow.
When they go forward, it's because they have a problem with other folks now. Because they're trying to make up things against their client, Tony Busby. So they're going to look to go after them. And they can leave your name out of it as a Jane Doe with cooperation. Because there's no reason to include you. Because we do think you're kind of a victim. We think
just wait for it.
Advantage of you. But how does this help me? I mean, that's a fair question.
That's how does this help me came in.
Jane Doe. And I have an answer for you, Jane Doe. The answer is,
listen,
it helps you because if you sign this affidavit, then as they mentioned earlier, your name won't be released. And you won't have to worry about your puppy. You won't have to worry about your kids being threatened, all this other stuff that's going to happen if your name's leaked. And if people find out.
Now that's paraphrasing. This is the guy reading it saying that. But remember, at the beginning of the statement, at the beginning of this, when he was reading, he said, Busby, piece of crap, don't like him. Jane Doe, liar, cuckoo doodle. Now, what's the attitude? And why the change in his attitude? There's more. We're almost done.
Find out where you are and who you are. So, I could help you in that way, but definitely talk to a lawyer about that. Mr. Butler says, it keeps you anonymous. Here we go, see? And to be honest, it sets the record straight. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily fair that some of his kids think that they did something that they didn't do. And I'd say, obviously, he's very popular. A lot of people think that he maybe did something really horrible, and if he didn't, we want to straighten it out. Jane Doe said, y'all have a nice afternoon.
Again, telling them to leave.
Nope. And that is the end of the transcript. Wow, a lot to unpack there. Y'all are going to have to let me know what you think.
I want to know, what do y'all think? Am I crazy? I showed y'all the filing on the 20th. I showed you Ian Pillager's statement, the other PI that wasn't present for these interviews, saying that he had had her name since the day of the filing. Matter of fact, I'll pull it back up again and show you again. My question is, why was this woman not protected? And does she not really have a reason to have fear? She was supposed to be anonymous and protected. This suit was settled 7 days before these people came to her house. If they came after she dropped the lawsuit with these type of, in my personal opinion, intimidation tactics to a victim that was supposed to have anonymity, that was supposed to not be known, not to those she accused or the attorneys. The only way that anybody found her is if what she was saying held some part of truth. If me and Miss Justice was hanging out in Canada and I went to the court system and said she beat my ass, but I had no video or pictures, and Miss Justice says, Nita's never been to Canada, I've never met her, but I didn't use my name, I'm Jane Doe. How the hell does she know to come to Nita? Unless Nita came to Canada and we had a fight. That's my biggest point. Screw whether it's true or honest and Busby and Spiro and all that. Who did not protect the anonymity of this victim? Who disclosed her identity to the accused? Because you best believe if these PIs know, if Jay-Z knows, then so does Diddy and his team. We got James Robert Butler that introduced himself as Robert that showed up at Jane Doe's house. And then we have Robert James, former police officer out of New York City, that came to YouTubers and TikTokers that were covering the Diddy and Jay-Z filings. I smell a rat. I smell a rat with them and with everybody associated with Mr. CB, Courtney Burge, and his attorney, and Ariel, and Letitia, whatever that other girl's name was. Every one of them, and the YouTuber that brought them. Every time that oh my God, I went blank. Every time that Andrea, whatever her name was, and the girl that claimed to be the girl in the studio did an interview, they ask panelists, YouTubers, and viewers, do you know how to get in touch with Jaguar Wright? Do you know how to get in touch with Allie Carter? Why were they so adamant to get in touch with those two ladies? Why are they trying to find them? I want to know who hired y'all to come do these interviews and to blow YouTube up. Who connected y'all with Lionel B? And where's he went to? Why is that important? Let me say this. Just like what happened in this case just now with Jane Doe from Alabama, if another case is brought against Jay-Z, most people are going to side-eye it if they don't dig into this. Because they're going to think, well, he beat that other case and it's just a lie to get money and make him look bad. Right? So, if we have the Andrea girl and the other girl that's with her and Courtney Burgess, and they all got a lawyer with them, come out and spread all this misinformation and muck and murk. One, we've all been oversaturated with Diddy coverage. Two, we're side-eyeing every victim that comes forth, but Cassie that has video proof. And nobody believed her until the CNN video came out. She was just a gold digger. Let's keep it 100, y'all. What have all of this done to Diddy's case? As far as the court of public opinion, as the jurists that are going to be hearing and deciding this case, what effect is there? One, we're oversaturated. We're tired of hearing about it, so we're tuning it out. Two, most people are going to be less likely to believe in his guilt. It's going to be harder to not have jury nullification. It's going to be harder to get a conviction. In, let's say, the mind of those that are hiring these people, and I'm including the people that came out on YouTube. Somebody paid these mofos besides the people giving the interviews, in my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, it's awful weird, the timing of the PIs coming out to get content creators and ask them if they were being paid or if they would be paid to spin a certain way. Why are certain people, every one of them that's been discredited and proved phony, why were they brought to YouTube land, TikTok land, the internet, whatever? Their gateway was the same attorney and the same YouTuber. Could it be a campaign of misinformation? You know, certain individuals like to try to use social media to influence the public's perception of them, i.e. the birthday from jail with all the kids around the table and the cake and the candles. I'm just a family man. I'm saying this is my personal opinion. There's no fact in this part. This is the editorial, Nita's personal thoughts. That being said, I want y'all to answer a couple questions in the comments section after this video's over. And the first question I want y'all to tell me is, do you think that this will encourage or discourage true victims of trafficking, SADV, from coming forward? Will more be likely to come forward that really experienced after seeing all this play out? Will the average human being, especially in the U.S. where the jury pool is located, be tired of the Diddy crap by the time it goes to trial and the jury is selected? Will any of this influence them to be less likely to believe his accusers? That's what I want to ask. And the very big, huge question mark. Who gave up Jane Doe's identity? Do you guys find a problem with that? I say screw all the other litigation. They need to tell who hired them, at least to the judge and the attorneys. Maybe not to the public. Tell who hired them. And tell how on the same day that Jane Doe filed, you were able to have that. And I'm going to show you again the screenshot from Ian Pillager's declaration. Just to show you, I'm not making this up. There's two things I want to end with. And I'm pulling them up now. Just give me a second to pull it up, y'all. I promise. I'm going to ask y'all 3 questions. 1, let's turn this around. First of all, does that look like the same man to you on the left and the right? So yes or no, it is or it isn't. Could that be the same person? Okay. Next. Page 14 of Jay-Z's lawsuit against Busby states, Mr. Carter first became aware of Jane Doe's identity on or around February 21st of 2025, and he has never met her or interacted in any way with her. Remember, okay? And that's also the date that the PIs appeared at Jane Doe's house. Sorry, y'all. Why is it out of sequence? Bear with me. If I wasn't wanting to pull it up, see, it would have pulled right up. I may have went past it. Here we go. And right here, Ian Pillager. First, I'm going to show you this. The arrow's pointing. It shows filed 10/20/24. Pull out. And that is the case of Jane Doe versus Diddy and everybody else. Ian Pillager, in his sworn declaration to the court, said, this is Ian Pillager, by the way, guidepost as it identified in his thing, I was provided with the name of Jane Doe on October 20th, 2024. Remember that. And that's also the same day that her case was filed. Ain't nobody that damn good at their job. That just with the filings in court on the very day that it was filed, that they figured her identity out. He don't say that. He said, I was provided, given the name of Jane Doe on the same day she filed. I need the psychic detective, please. Come on. We all do. Think of how many missing kids cases we could solve. We need these guys. And apparently they do pro bono work. They just show up to defend people who are popular without being hired. Just say it. That's the bullshit they trying to sell. I'll quit. Hold on, y'all. I gotta disconnect so that it'll quit blinking. And guys, I have now been on here for almost 3 hours. I've got a lot of packing and stuff to do. I'm going to try to get about 4 hours sleep, get up and start packing, and get back on the phones to try to see if I can't find a home for Pepper. I'm going to end this by saying, please give me your thoughts on the Jay-Z thing from the perspective of a survivor. Anybody who has any useful ideas or thoughts other than the $5 shot to put her down for my dog, please. I just want a good home for, be greatly appreciated. Just so everybody knows, let me say this. YouTube pays out between the 21st and the 26th of every month. Anybody that would be wanting to help me with a storage building for 1 month, that's all I need. Honestly, if I could rent it for 2 weeks, it'd be great, but you can't. For 1 month, so I don't lose everything else. If you donate directly to YouTube, it's going to be around April 21st before I would get anything. If you're interested, stuff is in the description box. And also, please like the video. Please subscribe. Please share. Please check out the video that I posted about what law enforcement did to this older gentleman and his wife with Alzheimer's. And share it out on social media. Nothing like this ever should happen to anybody in our country. I thank each and every one of y'all for being here. I'm working on 2 videos to upload right now. One is a thank you video, because I have no way to split screen and show. YouTube has started giving me information on who is my biggest commenter and liker and longest subscriber. So I want to do a thank you video for all of you guys, and I'm working on that. I apologize for time lapses. I apologize for not being able to be present right now the way I usually would be and have been in the past, but I'm packing up 30 years of my stuff, my mom's stuff, my daughter that she's left here stuff, and my son's stuff. It's not great for my mental health right now and physical health. But I no longer will be waking up every day, walking out my bedroom door, looking to my left, and seeing the place where my mom took her last breath and passed away. Nor the last chair that my son sat in before he went to the hospital. So, I'm trying to see the positive. I'm trying to salvage everything I can. Right now, I'm going to be lucky to just take most of my clothes and shoes. If I don't find a way to get a building for storage. I'm really hurt and upset that I was taken advantage of by so-called friends during a time like this. 3 people. And of course, everybody waits till the last minute, you know. 3rd person who promised to take Pepper, gone. I know, thank you, J-Rock. If it wasn't for God, I would still be sitting here. My faith won't allow me to give up, and I won't. I just was really disheartened when I was told if I give up the dog or anything, and it's not a good place, I could face jail time. And I said, so what am I supposed to do? Live in the tent that I have with the dog? That, or I can pay $5 for a shot to put her to sleep. These past 2 years, she's been all I've had. I just want her somewhere where she's loved and cared about. Even if it's temporary. As I said, she deserves that. Girl, I know, J-Rock, I'm with you. I believe. Listen, the fact that I'm not getting foreclosed on And then I found a buyer that doesn't have to wait on a bank loan and is doing a cash transaction as a blessing. If I could get everything moved out and get it in a storage building, I will literally have 10 business days till I'll be okay. I'll be able to do the things I promised my son I'd do. I'll be able to have a car and a job. And people can say what they want. But until the place I was working closed down, I walked back and forth to work. I have applied and tried everywhere that's walking. I saw a post on Facebook about my town, and if you're not from here, you might not understand it. But they were saying how Case Farms isn't even hiring right now. And they're not. And they're always hiring. They're a poultry processing plant. They just brought in a bunch of people from the Pacific Islands. That's what it said. It's a Facebook group called Let's Talk Burke County, matter of fact, that it was in. And I just want everybody to know that I'm so thankful and blessed to still be here and to have found a buyer and to be able to settle Mom's estate and have money left, no matter how little. It's enough that I'll be able to survive. It's just getting over that little hump. And I have to find somewhere for Pepper. She deserves better. It ain't about me. I love each and every one of y'all. Please let me know what y'all think about what I pointed out about this case. And if anybody has any ideas, please. I've reached out to people I know that rehome animals, that do rescue. And right now I haven't got any responses. But I'm not going to give up at all. Look at the fact that I've survived foreclosure and FEMA tried to take, or the government, North Carolina State, with our stupid governor, what he passed before the election. The fact that I was able to survive that and turn it to positive with the sale of the house, even though it's about half what it's actually worth. None of that would have been possible without God. Please know that. He brought the person that introduced me to the person that's buying the house to my door. And the way it played out, I have no doubt that it was God. And it let me know that I am worthy and worth it. And that I shouldn't give up. And that I'm not letting Mama down. And that I am doing the right thing. But it's hard. And a lot of times doing the right thing is hard. But one thing I can say is no matter how much you feel you've lost or how bad it is, please believe and pray and don't give up. If I'm still here and surviving, you can be too. And I refuse. I've got a little man that thinks the world of me and looks up to me. And I've got to set a good example for him. And I can't give up. I keep telling myself it's just things and they can be replaced. But Pepper can't. That's the hardest thing. I'm going to get some rest and stop being emotional if I can. Peace, love, and light, and God bless you guys. I will see y'all later. Thank you.